What is up, EWU crew? Area 51 is one of the most restricted places in the world, and getting a glimpse at the top secret activity and facilities inside is usually out of the question. The mystery enshrouding this location has led countless theorists to speculate over what really goes on at the elusive government site. But few people have ever been able to lay their own eyes upon Area 51, much less bring back real photos for the world to see. But today, we'll be talking to the man who managed to do just that. Gabriel Zeifman is a private pilot who has combined his passion for aviation with his love for the intriguing history encircling places like Area 51. He told us a bit about how he first got the idea to fly over the Nevada Test and Training Range, or NTTR, which contains spectacles like Area 51 and Tonopah Test Range Airport.
Oh, I've always loved flying and aviation. Back when I was really little, like 3 maybe, my dad was taking flying lessons and I would ride with, and he didn't end up getting any ratings. He just kind of did it for fun a couple times, but I always liked it, so I ended up going on a couple lessons when I was little, and then I got my pilot's license in high school and been flying since. Like, I guess I've always been interested in the aviation history stuff, so I'm not really one about the alien stuff like that. It doesn't really interest me, but like the history does. Like, I've read Kelly Johnson's book. I also think it's a little bit funny that there's this place that doesn't show up on the charts, but you can actually see if you get, even moderately close. So I always kind of laugh. I go, that place doesn't actually exist on the charts, but I can see it. I was looking at the active times on these, and in most of these restricted areas, they just say continuous, surface to infinity, which pretty much means now you can't go there. But one of the big ones, the one to the north, says Monday through Friday, other times by notice to airmen. I'm like, oh, so it's not active on the weekend, so that means, I should be able to go through there on the weekend. And I called Nellis, and they were really weird about it. They would say, I don't know what you're talking about, it's always hot. And then finally I got some supervisor guy, manager, said, yeah, you can go through there. And it took me a couple years to do it, but finally I went up there, and I was talking to, Nellis on the radio now. I was on radar flight following, and I asked to go through, and they said, approved. Okay, here we go.
Gabriel made his first expedition to the area in November of 2019 in his Cessna 150. Since then, he says he's gone back about a half a dozen times. Area 51, officially named Homey Airport or Groom Lake, was reportedly founded by the CIA in 1955. This is the facility that birthed the U-2 and SR-71 spy planes, and even conceived the modified stealth Blackhawks that were used in the Bin Laden raid. We can only wonder what revolutionary developments may be taking place there today. Although its name may not be as internet famous as Area 51, Tonopah Test Range Airport also boasts its own astounding creations. In his article discussing Gabriel's story, aviation and military enthusiast Tyler Rogaway explained that this airport, quote, once housed America's secret MiG adversary squadron, as well as the F-117 Nighthawk Force, while it remained shrouded in secrecy. In more recent times, it was the early home to the RQ-170 Sentinel spy drone, and the base remains a major reservoir for foreign material exploitation (FME) programs, such as housing foreign-made radars and missile launchers that are used for testing and training purposes. The Daily Mail has also reported about this elusive facility, explaining that at Tonopah during, quote, the height of the Cold War, a secret squadron of Air Force pilots even flew the Soviet fighter jets in mock dogfights against U.S. aircraft to train American airmen. That program was declassified in 2006. In addition, Janet Airlines is said to operate at this airport. Janet is the unofficial name given to a highly classified fleet of passenger aircraft operated for the United States Department of the Air Force as an employee shuttle to transport military and contractor employees. Its planes are unusually unmarked, except for a painted red strip running along the windows. Some say the name Janet stands for just another non-existent terminal, or Joint Air Network for Employee Transportation. Some even speculate it is a combination of JAN, Joint Army-Navy, and ET, extraterrestrial. It is said that Janet Airlines has destination codes to keep its operations more furtive, with Tonopah Test Range Airport being Station 7 and Groom Lake allegedly being Station 3. Here, Gabriel poses with Groom Lake in the background. And another image he snapped of Groom Lake. Gabriel was able to get an unbelievable aerial view of Groom Dry Lake and the main base. One lone hangar built about 5 years ago stands at the south side of the base. We can see here Gabriel's photo of Bald Mountain Radar Station, which is involved in supporting various exercises and test programs at the NTTR. Another fascinating topic of discussion around this general area is Exercise Red Flag, a 2-week advanced aerial combat training exercise held by the Air Force. 4 to 6 Red Flag exercises take place annually at Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada, bringing together air crews from the U.S. Air Force, Navy, Marine Corps, and Army, among numerous NATO and allied nations' air forces. In order to maximize combat readiness, the training environment here is made as realistic as possible by using enemy hardware and live ammunition for bombing exercises within the NTTR. All of these fascinating locations and historical events, which are intertwined with Nevada Test and Training Range, have long drawn the attention of the public, including, of course, Gabriel. And the coolest part about Gabriel's trips, they're all perfectly legal and approved. He explained that it can be hit or miss as far as getting the go-ahead though, because he is only allowed to proceed on those routes when the ranges are cold or not in use.
Probably maybe even like only 30% of the time they actually let me go into the airspace, because you can't predict when they're going to use it. I think I went on like 4th of July or something, and they said, no, it's active, it's hot. So I couldn't go in. I mean, I still got some cool pictures because there's airspace you can go in that's not restricted, that you can go in anytime and still get cool stuff. But I wasn't able to go to those crazy views from the south and stuff at that time. So there have been a lot of times where they said, no, you cannot go in. They don't release a schedule. They don't go, hey, you can go fly by Area 51 on Tuesday. I can't even check if it's hot or cold before I take off. I just have to take off and go, and then I'll have an alternate plan, which would be either go somewhere else or go the long way around.
At first, Gabriel had only his phone with which to snap photos, but as his trips became more frequent and gained increasing online attention, he invested in a better camera to document the sights.
The first time I just had my phone, which, I mean, I still got some interesting pictures, but then I'm like, okay, I gotta come out here with a real camera. So I just went to Costco and picked up a Nikon D3500 kit, and I've been using that.
We asked Gabriel if he ever worries that he could get in trouble for the photos he takes and posts of places like Groom Lake, Tonopah Test Range Airport, hangars, and even some buildings that are still under construction.
Not really. I mean, I don't have any sort of special permission in those airspaces or areas. And, I mean, people take pictures from mountains there. I don't really see how it would be different. I mean, if I was on some special authorized mission, clear, that would be messed up. But, I mean, I'm flying just as any old civilian. I don't have any specialized gear. I'm flying in a plane that costs less and has less power than a Camry. I mean, I'm not too concerned that they would that anything sensitive could be exposed by that.
Interestingly, in 2020, the Daily Mail noted that a hangar seen under construction in Gabriel's photos from April was already gone by July. Was its intended purpose scrapped? It appears that this is another mystery we may never receive the answers to. But it is interesting to see a glimpse into the spaces. Overall, one point that Gabriel emphasizes is that although people commonly perceive restricted areas as being all about secrecy and privacy, they are often restricted first and foremost for safety reasons.
Yeah, that's the definition of restricted airspace, which people kind of lose. There are restricted areas and there are prohibited areas. And prohibited areas are for either security or national welfare, like Mount Vernon, George Washington's house. That's in a prohibited area. But it's to protect that property from aircraft noises, from vibration that could damage the place. Restricted areas are established to protect non-participating aircraft. So by not letting you go there, they're trying to keep you safe. And I mean, they're also trying to keep whatever activity is going on in there safe. I mean, now the actual airspace over Area 51 is a restricted, and it's always hot. They'll never let you go through there. I've heard people that say they let medevac, like air ambulance, through on occasion at night. I've never been able to go through. I can't imagine they would ever let me go through that. It's always hot. They're really interpreting that as the security. They're using it for security, which is not, they don't acknowledge that there's an Air Force base in it, so, it's not that far off.
We inquired if Gabriel has spotted anything strange or of particular note during his expeditions.
I mean, no, there's just some construction going on there, which is like, oh, that's interesting. The runway's torn up. No, there's never been anything unusual. I mean, flying through Nevada national security site has been interesting because you see all the nuclear test sites, but there's nothing surprising. You just go, oh wow, that's a big crater, or oh, there's a fake airfield that they bomb, or there's a electronic threat simulator. There's cool stuff, but none of it's like unexplainable. I've never seen any activity. I mean, and that's the thing. Like when I'm flying through there, it is dead. Like there is no activity, and that's the only reason they're letting me fly through. So, and then that's also why I'm not really concerned about taking a picture because I can't imagine they'd have anything out. I have no reason to believe there'd be anything sensitive. The only activity I've ever seen was a backhoe, moving dirt around at Tonopah.
Gabriel is always respectful of the air traffic controller's instructions and avoids the restricted airspace if he doesn't receive approval. Just out of curiosity, we asked him what would happen if someone ignored ATC and proceeded unauthorized in such a densely monitored area.
I mean, so people are dramatic and they say, oh, you're going to get shot down. I think that's highly unlikely. What would happen? I mean, I don't know. If there was something secret, I don't know. Maybe they would do something, but I don't really think so. But what they definitely would do is you'd end up with a pilot deviation. So they'll either find you or they'll tell you over the radio possible pilot deviation, contact the facility, and they'll give you a phone number, and you're expected to call. And whether you call or not, they're going to file paperwork, give it to the FAA, who's then going to take some kind of action. And for something like that, like a willful disregarding air traffic instructions and violating airspace, like you could definitely get your license revoked or at least suspended.
We were also curious if Gabriel thinks that the air traffic control personnel responsible for the airspace of NTTR keeps track of his visits to the area, or gets suspicious at all when pilots routinely request access to the restricted range over Area 51.
That place, it's hard to say. I don't know. Restricted areas are normally run as in, well, it's hot or it's not. If it's cold, anyone can go through for any reason. Is like, that's the typical thing. I don't know how they run theirs. Like, I don't know their policies. We also kind of thought, well, maybe there's a couple of these guys that just think it's funny because they do kind of laugh. I mean, they see me going all sorts of weird ways, and nobody really cares. I mean, the worst I've ever gotten was, hey, are you aware of the boundary a mile at your 12 o'clock? And I go, yeah. And you go, okay, cool. I mean, they've always been pretty chill. Nobody's given me any hard time about it.
We asked Gabriel how he deals with people online who try to accuse his photos and story of being fake or complain that he needs more high-tech equipment. Fortunately, he says for the most part, the attention he receives is positive and encouraging.
I mean, it's mostly been people that are like, that's really cool. I mean, there's definitely some weird stuff, like I'll get some random email about aliens every once in a while. I'm like, okay, whatever. But every once in a while, there's, oh, it's fake, oh, it's a government conspiracy. I mean, that stuff, I mean, I don't know, you could definitely get better pictures. I'm just not going to put $20,000 into equipment, and I don't think I could even operate that while I'm flying an airplane and using a camera. I can't have a ginormous piece of equipment because then I couldn't fly the plane.
We inquired, what would he like to say to those people who think it's fake?
I don't know, usually nothing. You're not going to change anyone's mind. The Papoose Lake thing is one of the least interesting things to me. I think it's crazy, so I don't really get into it. But that south flight thing was mostly to get pictures of Papoose Lake. So I got pictures of Papoose Lake, and obviously for these people, they're still not good enough. They're never going to be good enough until you see a hangar in the mountain that does not exist. Until you see this thing, everything you do is going to be fake or not good enough, or, oh, well, they just cloaked it really well. You go, okay, you're never going to convince them of anything other than this guy that came up with the story as a legend, and this is real. I didn't see anything. My pictures are accurate to what I've seen. I don't have any reason to believe that there is anything there.
We asked Gabriel what he was referring to here as far as what people thought was going on at Papoose Lake.
Oh, there's a guy that said he worked there, and there's some alien base that they test flying saucers or something, and there's some huge hangars in the hill. And then he changed his story, and he's written it out and drawn pictures. There's no evidence of anything there. There's a dirt road to a landfill. That's it.
One of Gabriel's YouTube flight videos has procured over 70,000 views. We asked how he feels about his growing audience.
I don't know, not very much. I don't really do. I just kind of put the raw videos on if people want to see them. I don't really do a lot to them. And then a lot of them is just random backcountry flying, landing on a dirt strip or a road or whatever. But the Area 51 videos people have been pretty interested in, usually after somebody links to them, like a news article or something.
One of Gabriel's recent trips was made on Christmas Day of 2020. He explained that although he normally goes on random Sundays, he was lucky that the range happened to be cold that day. Major holidays like this present a good chance that he'll get approval to fly through. We asked Gabriel if he had any plans for special areas he'd like to explore in the future.
I don't know, I just kind of randomly do them. I usually don't have any plan. Like, some of them have just been like, hey, it's a Tuesday and I don't got anything going on. Let's go up that way.
Gabriel took this photo on his Christmas excursion of a hangar just south of the main NTTR complex. We can't help but wonder what could be inside. It was a joy to have the chance to speak one-on-one with Gabriel, and we look forward to seeing what adventures he'll document next. Have you heard of anyone else who's been able to get this close to Area 51? Be sure to let us know in the comments below.